Imagine this. You're in a sterile autopsy room. Cold. Silent. The hum of fluorescent lights above. A body lies on the table. A 60-year-old man, covered with a white sheet. Pronounced dead 3 hours ago. The medical examiner lifts the scalpel. Then, suddenly, the corpse's chest moves. A gasp of air. Eyes twitch. The dead man is alive. Sounds like fiction, right? But this happened. A real case. And it shook the medical world to its core. Today, you're going to hear the unbelievable, medically verified story of David Penrose, a retired truck driver from Ohio who was declared dead, legally, medically, officially, and then shocked everyone by waking up on the autopsy table. This is more than just a story. It's a journey into the unknown, into the eerie world of Lazarus Syndrome, one of the rarest and most baffling medical events ever documented. So before we dive in, ask yourself, could this happen to someone you know? Could it happen to you? Would you trust the medical system to know the difference between life and death? Hit that like button, subscribe, and keep watching, because what you're about to hear is filled with twists, tears, science, faith, and questions that still have no answers. David Penrose was a 60-year-old retired trucker living a quiet life in Dayton, Ohio. He loved his black coffee strong, his eggs runny, and his mornings peaceful. That Tuesday morning was no different, until he collapsed on the kitchen floor. Sandra Penrose, his wife of 37 years, heard the crash. She rushed into the kitchen and found David lying on the tiles, eyes wide open, unmoving. She screamed, dialed 911, and began CPR with trembling hands. Within minutes, the paramedics arrived. David had no pulse, no signs of life. Flatline. The EMTs worked on him for over 40 minutes. CPR, epinephrine, atropine, defibrillator paddles. The full protocol. Time of death, 8:47 a.m. One EMT solemnly declared. A sheet was drawn over David's face. Sandra collapsed into a chair, sobbing. Neighbors gathered. A police officer offered condolences. David's body was transported to Montgomery County Medical Center for a routine autopsy due to unexplained cardiac arrest. But something strange was already beginning to stir. Before we continue, let's pause. Have you ever heard of Lazarus Syndrome? If not, you're not alone. It's so rare that even most doctors never see it. Also known as auto-resuscitation after failed cardiopulmonary resuscitation, Lazarus Syndrome occurs when someone spontaneously comes back to life after failed CPR and being officially declared dead. Only 38 cases have been documented across the world since the first known record in 1982. Some scientists believe it could be due to a buildup of pressure in the chest during CPR, which suddenly releases and restarts the heart. Others think drugs used during resuscitation take delayed effect. But none of these theories explain everything. In David's case, every minute was a step deeper into a mystery. At Montgomery County Medical Center, the autopsy suite was kept cold. 36 Fahrenheit, sterile, white-tiled, brightly lit. Dr. Rebecca Harrow, 54, was a senior pathologist with a steely gaze and decades of experience. She'd seen overdoses, murders, even partial skeletons, but nothing prepared her for David. At 11:42 a.m., she began the routine. The body was wheeled in, checked, verified. The coroner's report was logged. She made a small incision on the chest. That's when it happened. A faint twitch. She froze. Then, another twitch, and a shallow gasp of air. Her assistant, intern Neil Watson, gasped. "Did you see that?" Dr. Harrow leaned in. "David, the man on the table, who had been legally declared dead, coughed. Panic erupted. The scalpel dropped. The intern stumbled back. An emergency code was called. Within 90 seconds, the room was filled with ER doctors and nurses. David's pulse, 41 BPM and rising. Blood pressure, 85/50. Oxygen saturation climbing. He was alive. The hospital froze. Administrators, doctors, nurses. No one had ever seen anything like this. Dr. Harrow refused interviews. Legal was called. The press was held off. Sandra Penrose received the call that afternoon. She didn't believe it at first. "This is a cruel joke," she whispered. But the nurse repeated it. "Your husband is alive. He's stable. Please come immediately." She dropped the phone. In the hospital, a media lockdown began. David was transferred to the ICU under heavy observation. No one knew what condition he'd be in. Was he brain dead? Was he in a coma? And the bigger question, how had this happened? Sandra arrived sobbing. Her daughter, Claire, flew in from Phoenix. Their son, Matthew, drove all night from Chicago. They stood around David's bed. Tubes, monitors, machines keeping him alive. "He looks peaceful," Claire whispered. "I don't care if he remembers me." Sandra cried. "I just want him back." Hours passed. Days. David's fingers twitched. His eyes moved beneath the lids. Then, on day 3, something incredible happened. David's eyes opened. It was slow, blurry, confused, but they opened. "David?" Sandra leaned in. He blinked. Then, in a hoarse whisper, "Cold. So cold." Tears flooded the room. Doctors rushed in. In the following days, his memories slowly returned. First his wife, then his kids, then his due. "I saw a tunnel," he said once, "but it closed. Someone told me to go back." He wasn't a religious man, but now he started asking for a chaplain. "Maybe I was meant to stay," he whispered. An internal review began. EMT protocols, drug timelines, CPR methods. Was this an error? Every test confirmed. David had met the clinical definition of death. No pulse, no spontaneous breathing, no heartbeat. So how did he come back? Experts debated everything from air pressure in the lungs to spiritual forces. But no one had answers. This case was entered into the Journal of Unexplained Medical Events. Chapter 8, The Media Storm, 1,500 words. Once the story leaked, the media exploded. Dead man wakes up during autopsy. CNN. Ohio Lazarus. Time. Podcasts, Reddit threads, YouTube videos. David's name was everywhere. The hospital was overwhelmed with calls. Paranormal investigators even showed up. But David declined all interviews. "I'm not a freak show," he said. "I just want peace." David began therapy. He had nightmares. The cold, the lights, the voices. He and Sandra moved to a quieter town by a lake. He took up fishing, wrote poetry. "I feel different," he said. "Like I crossed something and came back." He now spends his time mentoring local teens, telling them to cherish every day. "I got a second chance," he says. "You may not. Use yours wisely." Despite all advances, science still can't explain everything. What revived David? Why did it take 3 hours? Why was his brain still intact? Theories continue, but no consensus. Some say divine intervention. Others say unmeasurable biological anomalies. But all agree, the line between life and death isn't as clear as we think. What do you believe? Is Lazarus Syndrome just a glitch in our understanding, or a window into something greater? Would you trust machines to declare a loved one dead? Or should we all be a... Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like this video if it blew your mind. Subscribe for more true stories that challenge what we believe. Because this is just the beginning. True medical mystery, Real human story. And the haunting question, what if death isn't the end?